go ahead and start the meeting. Fred, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Or are you recording? Is all the recording equipment up and we're ready to get going?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll call to order the City of Homewood Planning Commission meeting, July 21st, 2020. It's approximately 6:13, and I apologize for being late. Fred, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Foster,
Here.
Mr. Hickenbotham,
Here.
Battalion Chief Hill, Mr. Cronteras,
Here.
Mr. Riddle,
Here.
Mr. Roberts,
Here.
Mr. Kane. Mr. Thames? No. Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Woods.
Here.
All right. Okay.
All right, thank you. I believe we have a quorum. Moving right along, old business. Well, let me take a step back. Minutes, there were no minutes. Communications from the chairman, I have none. Communications from the vice chairman, Mr. Foster.
I have none.
Thank you. Announcements.
The May 5th minutes were included in your package, were they not?
Yes, May 5th.
The May 5th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's correct. We got them so long ago, I forgot about
Yeah,
it.
yes, yeah, July 7th. So it has been a while. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
the commission doesn't feel comfortable, we can continue those until the August 4th meeting or take action tonight, whatever.
I'd make a motion to dispense with the reading and go with them as they are.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Riddle and a second by Mr. Cronteras. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you, gentlemen. Communications from the chairman, I have none. Communications from the vice chairman, Mr. Foster.
I have none.
Okay. Announcements, commission activities. Fred, is there anything that you need to communicate to us?
No, not this time.
Okay. Mr. Foster, I know that you've been working on the tree ordinance / landscape plan. We, a committee, worked heavily on that prior to COVID, but since COVID came along, there has been no activity. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, I've got the version that we edited, but until we were able to meet as a subcommittee group again, I don't think it's worth putting before the full commission. However, if that is there's a desire for that, I'm happy to send that forward.
Okay, well, we can discuss, the committee can discuss that and make a report next time. I would like to add an item to our agenda. We're coming up on the end of the year, of our calendar year for Planning Commission. And unless others disagree, I would suggest that we come up with a nomination committee for chairman and vice chairman. And if there are no objections, that we appoint James Riddle to head a 3 or 4 person committee. Can we add that to the after new business? That'd be new business item number 2. Is there a motion and a second for that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Woods and a second by Mr. Riddle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We'll add that as agenda item number 2 under new business. Old business item number 1 is carried over from the May 5th meeting. As we discussed just a couple minutes ago, there doesn't appear to be a need to address that tonight. I'd make a motion that we carry it over again. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Riddle and a second by Mr. Foster. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you, gentlemen. Moving right along, new business item number 1, PC case PD 20-07-01. The applicant is Charles Dalfett. Mr. Dalfett, I saw that you were on the line earlier. Are you prepared to present your case?
Yes, sir. I am prepared.
All right, please do.
Okay, guys, basically, this is my first time before the Planning Commission, and my partner, Trey Henderson, is here with me. We're both residents of Homewood. Recognize a lot of your names. I don't know everyone. And guys, we also have our engineer, civil engineer on the line as well to answer any questions that you guys may have. And with that said, I just want to stand before you and say that what we've done is we have the civil plan, we have the ADM permit and the landscape plan in hand. And with that said, we're just coming before you asking if you guys might have any questions or any concerns, or if there's anything out of the ordinary that you might see.
Okay. Is that it, Mr. Dalfett?
At this time, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. We typically let the applicant present their information.
Okay.
We open it up to the public, and I probably should have read this prior to allowing you to speak. This item allows for public comments. We will allow those in person to speak first. Since this is a Zoom meeting, if you are joining online and would like to speak about this specific item, you can now put your full name and address in the chat, and your name will be called on when it is your turn to speak. Please do not unmute until your name is called. Is there anybody from the public that wants to speak about this? The public forum is now open.
There doesn't seem to be anything in chat.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wallace. With that, we will close the public portion. Okay, looking at the plans, commission members, do you have any questions for the applicant?
The only question I had, Billy, was the water issue that he mentioned. Something that I forgot exactly how it was, but will you be turning the water towards Lowe's as the hotels have done, and so that it runs down the street instead of down the backside? I mean, will you grade the lot? How will that?
Brian, are you on the line?
The water running towards Lowe's, not the houses.
Well,
Right.
the water will actually run towards Lowe's, and it will go into an underground detention pond,
Right.
and we will put it into the storm sewer at that point.
That's what I thought I read. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm gonna obviously abstain from voting since I live in Parkside, which backs up to this, and there's plenty of members that have expressed in the Parkside subcommittee have expressed a lot of dislike for this project. So I'm going to abstain from voting since I live in that subdivision. But I would say that we need to take into account that directly across the street, and I went and visited the spot today, they are building a very large mini storage. In fact, they're claiming it to be one of the largest in the area. And we're going to turn right around and put another one over in Homewood right across the street from this one. So I think there needs to be a lot of consideration taken by the city before we decide to have this much mini storage all in the same area. Not to mention we've got Metro right down the hill.
Well, you know what, Mark? We tried to call you and ask you if you had anything to say, you know, if you had anything. That's the first I've heard of. Which one are you, where are you talking about?
Do what now?
Where are you talking about their building, that those are being built?
Directly across the street from this, where you're trying to build them?
Is
There
it
is
in
a
the city of
huge-
Homewood, or is it in the city
No,
of Birmingham?
this is Birmingham. But I mean, my point is valid that
you.
you've got, I mean, how much mini storage can you have? Because I checked with the one here off of Oxmoor, and it's 87% used right now. In fact, they said it could be closer to 80. And then you've got one being built that's a massive across the street at Wildwood right now. And we've got one right here down the road that's not even fully at capacity.
Okay, well,
I'm familiar with the apartments being built, but I'm not familiar with another mini storage being built.
So there's a mini storage being built right across the street.
okay, well, Fred, correct me if I'm wrong. This was approved in 2009 as a Cambria hotel. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're correct. Back in,
And this is a PMUD, correct?
yes, you're correct.
And this use, this proposed use is allowed by PMUD, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Are there
And
any further?
I'm not saying one way or the other how I feel about it. I'm just stating what's factual around the area, just so everybody will be aware of the facts.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Does any commission members have any questions or comments for the applicant? Are there any other commission members that have questions?
Sorry, can you hear me? I was muted.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you now.
Great. So item 6 in your summary, planning and zoning question and answers, it says steps we take to protect the adjacent 50-foot wide established natural buffer from damage during construction. I mean, is that essentially you're just not going to cut down the trees, or you've got a very defined plan or something along those lines?
We do. That's a very good question, Mr. Foster. That we have a very defined plan, and we're staying inside of those buffers, if you will. If you'll think about the property itself, it drops off to the West Homewood soccer field, and that buffer will not be disturbed at all. And then on the back side, it goes pretty much straight up to the Alabama Power right of way. So we'll not be disturbing that buffer as well.
Okay.
So you'll be adding another buffer 30 feet from that one, is that what you're saying?
No, sir.
Well, I don't think he's saying he's adding a buffer. He's just building his footprint.
Yes, okay, that's, okay, just clarification.
At least in some spots, it's greater than 30 feet.
Right.
But it's a minimum of 30 feet off of the 50-foot building line required.
Right.
I went and looked at both the buffers just out of curiosity, and where they're laying it really is good. I mean, the buffers are great, and they're not going to be touching the buffers. It's really good for both the neighborhood and, it's really going to be on Hardwick up there, and those buffers are going to be good.
Yes, this is Brady Wilson. I just got a quick question for the applicants on any potential surveillance equipment that might be installed.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Not only the surveillance, but we're going to also install the AI, the artificial intelligence that it supposedly will identify and alert us if someone is there after hours that should not be there. But that is absolutely correct. There will be a lot of surveillance on the property itself.
Yeah, that's good to know. You're probably well aware, in addition to the neighborhood, the 6-acre field that's heavily used by the Homewood athletic departments is abutting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions for the applicant?
Just my last question was related to item 3, hours of operation until 10 p.m. Is that consonant with Lowe's across the street, I guess?
Yes, Lowe's stays open till, I believe, 9 in the fall through the winter, and I think they're open till 10 on,
In the holidays?
well, in the, like spring through fall.
Okay.
They have extended hours, so it's comparable.
This kind of project won't have a lot of coming and going anyway, once people are moved in, I wouldn't think. Not that time of night anyway.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the preliminary development plan, the application that has been submitted for this project. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Mr. Higginbotham,
Yes.
Mr. Higginbotham,
Yes.
it's Greg.
Yes.
We talked about this earlier. This is actually a amended plan because the site has already been through a full plan for the hotel that was approved in 09. So this needs to be done as an amended development plan.
Okay, well, the box checked on the form says preliminary. So.
It does, but that's incorrect.
Okay.
And I reviewed the plans. It's been over a month since I've seen them because I remember talking about the underground detention, but it really needs to go forward as an amended development plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Stuart Roberts earlier about this and a preliminary plan versus an amended final plan. Mr. Roberts, do you want to opine about that?
Well, sure. And I reviewed the code provision from the zoning code, which is written to be consistent with the statute. The Alabama statute governs this, which I have not reviewed just in this short time. But looking through Article 6 of the zoning code, and the process that you're supposed to go through for a preliminary development plan with less detailed information, but several lineated items you're supposed to have. And then you go to a final development plan that has very detailed information about things like scale, topography, location, height of structures, the use of the structures in the land, and things as detailed as service and loading spaces. I don't think the code speaks directly to this as to when an amended plan can be submitted in these circumstances, but I can't read this code and think that a development plan that describes an entirely different use with buildings on an entirely different footprint with information that would probably in almost in every respect differ from the information provided in the preliminary development plan and the final development plan could be considered an amended zoning plan. I don't see that.
Mr. Roberts, you just woke my brain up and made me realize something. That an amended plan, even an amended plan or a final plan can only differ by a small amount from its original. So you're correct, absolutely correct in that. I wasn't thinking about that at the time.
Yeah, it's like 10%, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, my brain must have shut off when I was thinking about this project. But yeah, when you do an initial plan, preliminary plan, and you come back with your final plan, there can be only minor changes to it. And I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about the property's already been through this process. The property has been through a development plan, but there are drastic changes. You're correct.
Right. Additionally, as you pointed out, in the Cambridge Suites, there was a preliminary plan, there was a final development plan, and there was a coincided with that amendment to the Wildwood Center plan. So technically, as I say, this was not advertised as an amendment to the Wildwood Center plan. So that would need to be done as well with a final approval, a final development plan.
Mr. Roberts is absolutely correct. I just wasn't thinking about it that way. I was thinking differently. But yes, so the initial plan and the final plan cannot differ but more than about 10%.
Okay. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion in a second to approve this preliminary development plan. New business item number 1, PC case PD 20-07-01. Now, as I recall, we make we approve this, but it goes to council, correct?
I don't think it goes to council. Just our rezones would go to council.
That's right. You're right.
Okay, and another thing, there's an
Should we?
architectural review committee also,
That's
but it
right.
doesn't exist anymore.
That's right.
It doesn't exist anymore. And the last time I asked a question about it, Mr. Kenner told me that fell into my office. So we'll discuss that again. But what we could do, if y'all are agreeable to it, is put them on the very next planning commission meeting, which happens in just a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And and then have this approved the first week of August. Approved or disapproved. They haven't voted yet, but I'm saying whichever way it goes. If it's approved tonight, then they could come back for their final the first week of August.
Yeah, I agree. Okay,
That's
well,
it.
there's a suggested motion on the table. Do I have a motion and a second to approve?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Riddle and a second by Mr. Roberts. Fred, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Frontier,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
I believe he said he was abstaining.
that is correct, and Mr. Higginbotham.
Yes. Okay, so this case is approved and it will need to come back to us for a final development plan in 2 weeks at the next meeting. Let's get it posted and get it done.
Mr.
All
Higgins.
right. Yes.
Does this mean that we can go ahead with a land disturbance permit at this time?
Well, that's a question for
No.
Mr. Cobb.
No, the answer is no.
No, we can't issue a permit until it goes through final development.
Okay.
If I could, if I could jump in, I would, that's a no. I'm not at liberty to issue that until a final development plan has been approved.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pugh. Moving right along, item number 2, it's sort of a housekeeping item. Nomination of chairman and vice chairman, a committee to do so. I would make the recommendation that if everyone is in agreement, that we, like we've done last couple years, we appoint Mr. Riddle as a chairman of this committee, a 3 or 4 person committee. And before our next meeting, August the 4th, I believe, we assemble some suggestions or recommendations for chairman and vice chairman. Okay, who was that?
Wilson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Is there a second?
This is Jeff. Yes, I second.
Okay, well, we actually had 2 seconds from Mr. Cronteris and Mr. Foster, but Mr. Wilson made the motion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a suggestion that anyone that would like to serve with me on this committee could shoot me an email and we'll go from there on getting 3 or 4 people.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. You've handled it successfully in the past. I trust your judgment. Please do so accordingly.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no further items, first I want to apologize for the technical difficulties, and then I need to go in there and rub my wife's feet, do whatever it takes because she got me up and running. So if there are no further comments, this is dwindling to probably an area we don't want to go to. If there are no further comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion, is there a second?
A second.
A motion was by Mr. Riddle and the second was by Mr. Cronteris. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for the service to our great city.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
We'll
Have a
see you later.